There's Paul McStay. Paul McStay with the opening goal. 21 minutes into the second half. The Celtic end goes wild.
And they gave us James McRory and Paul McStay. They gave us Johnston, Tully, Murdoch, Gold and Hay. And most of the football greats have passed through Parkhead's gates. But to play football the Glasgow Celtic way. And they played football the Glasgow Celtic way.
Hello and welcome to the Celtic Ray podcast. My name is Stephen Ray. I am your host, and again I'm joined with Kevin McColgan. How you doing, Kevin?
Not too bad. This is a fine Thursday evening.
Yeah. Do you know what I've noticed every week you say not too bad twice?
I know.
No.
It's just force of habit. We nerves get into it every time at the start of it.
It's fine. Just say how you doing, and that's it all day. You don't- I knew I was going to pull you up on that, so don't worry
In my
about
job, I always get given into trouble for saying good morning when it's good afternoon and good afternoon when it's good morning. You know, and I'll say things that just sometimes just force a habit. You know, you just can't help it sometimes. But I will try for future.
I thought you were going to break into what's that movie Jim Carrey was in.
Almighty, is it?
No, Bruce Almighty. The one where he was basically living a lie. He didn't know he was in some TV show. Truman.
Oh, true.
Truman
I've
Show.
seen it.
He always whenever he meets somebody, he's always saying good afternoon. If I don't see you later, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
I'm not that bad yet, but give it time.
Yeah. So we may as well just fire straight in. So we've had two games to cover this week. One very good performance, I would say, with maybe a few wee, dodgy moments, but in the main pretty convincing. And obviously last night against St Mirren, which was we'll get to that. Yeah. We don't want everybody tuning it right away. So Saturday, we'll start with the positives. It was Saturday, a 5-0 win over Ross County away in County. And there was actually fans at the stadium, 300 fans, Ross County fans, all socially distanced. What all that nonsense. But and wearing face masks while they're outside. So, aye. What was your thoughts on the game overall? We'll go through bit by bit, but just your overall thoughts.
Overall was it was good to see a few goals going in for a change. I really liked the way we looked under a 3-5-2 after a maybe shaky start, I suppose. Just at the back sometimes we were still a wee bit dodgy, but overall very happy with it. I thought Barkas was one of his better games. I thought he certainly made certainly a number of decent saves throughout the match. Not that it would have had any effect on the match itself, but good to get the confidence up, and I thought he done really well.
You say one of his better matches, but I think in the main he's not actually had a hell of a lot to do. If I'm being honest, there was a dodgy moment, and I think it might have been the Motherwell game. Was it the Motherwell game where a pass back happened, but he slipped as the pass back was coming to him, or just as it was about to be passed back? I think Julian passed it back to him, and he
slipped. that was Saturday. Aye, I know.
Oh, was it Saturday? Aye. So. Because I heard that I had Clyde on in the sort of background while I was watching the game on the laptop, and I think it was like some Mark Wilson giving it, the Barkas looking dodgy again. The guy slipped. I thought he dealt with it pretty well, considering, because, if he doesn't get a foot to it, it's possibly going towards the goal. So I just didn't. I think the guy's getting a hard time, and I think, he's a Greek guy, obviously English isn't his first language. He's got a Norwegian, an Irishman, and a Frenchman in front of him, so communication's going to be, and his captain can barely speak English.
It's the start of a great
I'm
joke.
I'm going to have a hate for that.
An Irishman and a Frenchman.
So I definitely think it was his best game, though. He pulled off some pretty impressive saves, pretty reactionary saves as well.
I think it was one where the header went right across the frame of the goal.
Yes.
And then he tapped it away, and I thought that was a great a great save. But it's more just that people are giving him a hard time, so it was good to see him pull off these saves and, you know, deal with that sort of dodgy pass back, whatever it was, and he dealt with it as best as he could. You know, better to kick it out the park than, you know, into danger.
Yeah. He's got a funny style about him in a way, and it's the way he catches the ball. It's very, you know, it's almost as if he catches it with his fingertips as opposed to, you know, the palms of his hand, so to speak. But he never he very rarely drops anything. And I noticed it last night when it was a pretty tame shot went to him. He kind of just put his hands out in front and kind of hovered, you know, he had his knees. It was just a weird way he collects the ball. And there was a time as well last night, I don't want to obviously discuss last night yet, but where I think a cross came in and it looked as if he was coming for it, and then did you fall off your chair there?
No, I went to get my pen and I pushed my notepad right onto the laptop, so that's what's the noise was. No, I haven't fell off laughing yet.
And it was almost as if he sprinted the 3 yards to go and get it, and he completely commanded it. He got it, but about a half a second earlier, it didn't look as if he was coming for it. So I just think he's got a weird style about him, and you'll know. Now that I've said it, hopefully you sort of see that. But I'm pretty confident he'll definitely come good. I think his reactions are pretty sharp, and he doesn't seem flustered when he's got the ball at his feet. And sometimes he picks passes that, you know, with Gordon would be, you know, pretty dodgy.
The thing is, I think he is cool, calm, collected at any point in the game, no matter when it is. Like, as you say, he picks a pass that you maybe wouldn't see, but he doesn't get fazed by it. He didn't get fazed by the dodgy pass back. He recovered well. He had a quick reaction. I think as well, it does have a weird style, as you say, and I know this sounds weird, but I mean, if you look at the size of his hands, just the way he kind of holds his hands when he's running, it's just a bit. He's got these huge hands. I know as a goalkeeper he's going to have to, but I think, yeah, with the utmost faith in him. And I've always thought he will be good. Now, I'm not said that he has had a bad game, but I think this just proves, if there is any doubters on there, that he's this and he's that. But no, in the whole, I thought he was good.
Yeah, I think people just are looking at that game against Ferencváros, and because we went out, they kind of try and look for blame. And I think, you know, they look at him because he's been beat for distance and one kind of went under his legs. So, you know, I don't think it's an issue with him at all. So the back three, you know, in front of him, as I said, was Duffy, Jullien and Ayer. Were you surprised to see Duffy at the right side of centre-back?
I was, yeah, not gonna lie. I was, because I thought he would have been better in the middle, you know, being as a centre-half, obviously. I do think, though, for it being their first time together, I thought they certainly grew into the game. I thought Duffy played well. I mean, nothing really. He didn't really do anything bad. He maybe had one kind of, but I think it was loss of concentration, maybe in the first half. But he did recover well, and he got the tackle back, and I think he got the ball.
Was that the one? I think it was called for a free kick. It was either offside or a free kick on Jullien, but he did look as if he was a wee bit daydreaming a wee bit, and you know,
could have caught blindside with the guy coming, and then always having to run back. But he did get there, and they had to make the tackle that he had to, whether or not it would have resulted in a caution or red card. But he did recover. But I think after that, the
tackle reminded me. You remember the one Boyata gets sent off at Hamilton, where he actually won the tackle, but because he was last man, and the guy sort of threw himself to the ground. I think it was Willie Collum at the time called it as a red, you know, but it wasn't a red. It should have been a play on, but it just had that kind of feel about it that with Scottish referees, you know, you don't know what way that would have went. But thankfully, it wasn't a decision that had to be made, because it was the decision had already been called for something else. So I get that he's not played much football since January. So you know, I expect him defensively to, you know, get better week on week, you know, but and obviously his first game in a new team, so I'm not going to hold any defensive stuff against, especially if he finished with a clean sheet, I suppose.
And so a great header as well, to be fair. You know.
But early on we get a penalty, and Eddie, cool as you like, slots it away.
Yeah, it was a great penalty. I mean, at first I didn't think it was a penalty at the first glance, but then when you look at it again, you think, no, he's definitely pulled him back. Surprised that Andrew Dallas given the penalty, never mind anything else.
Is Andrew Dallas the ref? I didn't even notice.
He was son of Hugh was the ref. and I'm just surprised they gave the penalty, to be fair. But as you say, very cool, calm, collected, almost like Pogba, the way he was kind of running up to take the penalty, and puts it away greatly and silenced the 300 strong crowd.
Yeah. So 1-0 up, but Ross County were playing pretty well. They were creating chances without. I mean, obviously they had that chance where Barkas sort of tipped it sort of past the post, but they'd had pretty good possession of the game.
They were certainly holding their own, given they are Ross County and they don't have the biggest budgets or the biggest players to attract to the club, but they were certainly going for it, even if they did go down early doors. As you say, they had chances. If that was maybe more of a clinical team, we could have been punished for that.
Yeah. So not long after, Ayeti makes it number 2. He's looking pretty clinical in that sort of between the posts, anywhere between sort of 1 yard and 12, 13 yards out, and he's looking pretty lethal.
I mean, it was some stat that he hasn't even played a full 90 minutes yet he's got 3 goals, and that just shows you how clinical he is. And I don't think he is still fully fit, but
that was one I pulled Mark Wilson up on Saturday in Clyde, because I'd heard in the background saying, he's done okay so far, and I'm like, what are you talking about? He's not even played fully 90 minutes at this point. He's already got 3 goals. It's ridiculous.
And I think it was good because he is just the right place or he seems to always be at the right place at the right time. And if that, as I keep saying, if that's what he's like half fit, I'm looking forward to seeing when he's fully fit, because I thought him and Edward did work well and points of the game, to try and work between them. Yeah,
it looked as if it was actually a goal before I'd even realised it. The ball, I hadn't even noticed that the ball had dropped to him and it was already in the net. It was just laser sharp sort of reflexes to get it there.
We'll just hope for the best.
Yeah, he kind of strikes me as the guy who will score 3 or 4 out of every 5 chances, whereas Klamala at this stage looks as if he's a 1 in 5 or a 1 in 6.
Yeah,
and I think that's the difference.
And I think the difference is that he has came from
a higher level as well.
A higher level, and has always been clinical. Anywhere he's went, okay, maybe West Ham he hasn't had that chance, but I think with respect, the Swiss league is a wee bit better than the Polish league.
Yeah,
that's the way I see it, and I think he will be a very good player. I think he is very much in the Hooper mould. Just a poacher really, but will give you that little bit of maybe more work rate than what Hooper would have.
Yeah. See, people. I heard somebody the other day not call him sort of Hooper mould almost. They sort of compared him with George Cadet. I can't remember who it was that said it. Just be that natural instinct to score, in front of goal. Just that laser sharp reactions. I don't know if I would go that far this early, but he's definitely looking the part. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, if you look at it on history, Cadet came on and scored when 10 minutes or something of his debut one time.
If even that, well, I was at that game. The goal that blew 5 live off the radio.
Some goal, to be fair, though. It was a cracking goal he scored that night, from what I remember seeing on the telly.
So we goes in at half time, 2-0 up, having not played great, you could say, and apparently Lennon went through the players in the second half, demanded a lot more. And sure enough, we came out the second half and we definitely upped the ante a lot, you could say.
We certainly did. We did look a lot better and it became a lot more convincing and dominant, obviously mirrored by the goals, justified. I thought
County still had a couple of chances written off, and probably the best save that Barkas made was in the second half, the one they sort of reflex save down low. I think
it was right. A header, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. They had a couple of chances, and as I say, if it was more of a higher placed team in the league, then if that was maybe against a Hibs or someone maybe Aberdeen or whatever, then you'd might have been punished for that, I think.
Possible.
But as I say, though, they did still go for it. But I think once the third went in, that was it. The heads effectively went down, as much as they may have kept trying. But it was like there weren't as many chances being created.
Yeah.
by Ross County. But what a header by Duffy. I mean, even if he did take Julian out of the game and Julian appealed for a penalty, you know.
Yeah. So that was hilarious, to be fair. You know, he actually turns around to the ref and he's got his arms up. He doesn't even realise the ball's in the net because there's no fans cheering. I don't think his first reaction is to turn to the ref rather than look to his teammates.
Because somebody paused it and it's just like you see Dallas with the arm out and you're like, come on.
I know. So he took no prisoners, that's for sure. And then the fourth goal was excellent play by Ncham. He burst into the box, could pass a couple of players, and a brilliant pass right across the face of goal. And Ayer's inside the 6-yard box for some reason.
I know,
and buries it.
Great goal, you know. Great work, you know, by Ncham.
I still don't think. I mean, I've seen people getting on Cham's case a wee bit, and he was a bit sloppy in the first half, to be fair. But I definitely think, and I'm going to repeat myself every week until it changes. I don't think he's a number 10. I don't think you're going to get. I think he's better facing the play, you know, and dictating it from deeper. I just don't think he's a back to a number 10's got to sort of play in the half turn. I think. You know, the way Rogic does really well. And I think McGregor's really good at playing in a half turn, but I think he's better from deeper, you know, sort of taking it from defence into midfield, into attack. He's always on that kind of half turn. I just don't think Ncham plays that way. I don't think he likes playing. I think he likes everything in front of him. I don't think we're definitely not getting the best out of him at the minute, but, you know, he's getting game time. And this is the problem, is people are quick to absolutely hammer him for any loose passes, and they're desperate to get him out the, you know, they complain that he's not consistent, but you've got to give him time to get consistent. He's got to get games, you know. Exactly. So
he's getting absolutely like he wasn't included last night, and I think that was severely harsh on him because I don't think he had that poor a game. I did say in my notes though that I was taking notes during the game. It was like there was a few slack passes by Ncham, but I thought he grew into the game and done a great assist. But he is definitely better than a deep lying, you know, midfielder. You know, he's much better just in front of the defence and doing the dirty work, the boiler room work. You know? And that's the way I used to always call Joe Ledley. I always thought Joe Ledley was great at that, just doing the boiler room stuff, the stuff that you don't really see, just mops everything up, just keeps going for it. But he's never an attacking midfielder, although he could chip in with the odd goal. You know.
So Kouamala has a great chance, and he kind of takes too many touches, and then he just smashes it towards the middle of the goal. And it's the only place that the county defender is at. So, you know, he could easily have his head. He should have scored. Let's no mince our words here. He should have buried it, but he didn't let it sort of affect him too much because he did pop up with a pretty tidy finish not too long after a brilliant piece of play with El Yunusi, who nutmegs the last defender and puts it on an absolute platter. I think Kouamala is the type of striker that if he gets too much time to think about it, he's likely to miss. He kind of reminds me a wee bit like Kenny Miller. I don't think he's got the greatest first touch. I think he will get you goals. You know, but I think
comparisons to be made there because I think Kouamala, like Kenny Miller, would run their absolute heart out for you. You know, they will give you that, and they'll give you a lot of effort, but it might
not give you a lot of quality.
The return was never there. You know.
Well, during our time anyway, I always found that Kenny Miller, when it was a case of hitting something first time and not having that much time to think about it, he would put it away. But I always remember a game for Scotland against Italy, I think it was, and he had sort of 30-40 yards running in on goal, you know, and it looked easier to score, and he missed it. I think he just hit it straight at the keeper, and it just kind of reminds me of one of these players that you give him too much time, he overthinks it, you know, tries to be too careful, whereas if he just takes, where it's a first time chance, which it was for his goal, you know, first one touch, boom, it's under the keeper and in the net, you know. So I think I'm still unconvinced that Kouamala will make it as a Celtic player, but I think he's capable of 12 to 15 goals this season, given, you know, the odd 20 minutes, half hour here and there, especially against the bottom six, that's for sure.
I mean, certainly, I mean, he scores the harder of the two chances. So
it really annoys me that.
You know, it did score the harder of the two, and Yeah, he probably did take his time, but you've got to also compliment how great Edward done in the lead up to that chance.
Yeah.
Because he took on about three of them and left about three of them on their backside, And
I always remember Pierre Van Hooijdonk being a bit like that, scoring the harder of the chances. There was one game in particular, this is probably a wee bit before your time, me showing my age here, but there was a game we played against Dunfermline at home, and he missed a penalty. And then about 5 minutes later, he got a free kick 35 yards out and put it in the top bins. You're like, what? It was 10 times harder to score, and he just put it where it was just crazy. But we've had players like that in the past.
Oh, we definitely have. But I think though it was good to see Klimala making amends for it, and it will not do his confidence any harm by getting the goal. No, that's what we thought anyway on Saturday by getting it. And as I say, it did get better, as the game went on. And I tell you, I thought Duffy deserved the man of the match out of everybody, if we're going to be, because I think it was the Ross County TV or whoever gave it to Clarkson. If you watched the away team video, you're allowed to do that. So I thought he done well, and it was good to see him scoring his debut. And I think I seen somebody had Edward, Ayeti and Duffy all to score, and Celtic won 5-0. I think it was 80-1,
Yes. I hope they had at least a tenner on that.
And I don't know what they either cashed out or they didn't. I can't remember. I think maybe someone can confirm that, but I think they cashed out with a minute to go because they just thought they might get a sixth. So.
Sack that. What was I going to say? Obviously, 5-0 was a great result, but other things, talking points within the game. For the first time in a long time, McGregor and Brown weren't in the midfield together. It's a period of time, and Turnbull and Soro actually exists. He actually came on. He looks a tidy player. He looks as if he plays a crisp, quick pass forward. He's quite doesn't hold on to the ball too long. He looks a wee busy kind of tidy player. I don't know. It's hard to judge. Soro, yes, Soro, yeah.
For what I've seen in all of the pre-season games, that was the person I was saying to myself, I would like to see more of him, just to get a chance, because as you say, very tidy player, always wanting to get forward, get the pass and go, and certainly not afraid to put in a tackle,
Yeah.
I would like to see more of him, definitely, but we could be here all day with...
I was surprised that Lennon actually used all 5 subs, to be fair. I just think we know very rarely before we get to the 60-minute mark, and he's already made a sub, and it really annoys me about managers. See if something, see if the game's won or or the things aren't working, you are allowed to change it. If plan A is not working, you don't have to let a certain amount of time pass before you decide it's not working. Just make the change, and obviously. We were well ahead in the game. The game's won. Why keep Edward on? Brown, there's no reason to keep Brown on any longer. McGregor should be getting more rest time when possible. So for once he actually started to make subs. At times where you can, I was quite happy with. So I was glad he made the 5 subs and gave some people a run out.
It was good to see the 5 subs being used. I mean, it's something I need to keep remembering, that we can actually use 5 subs, because I'm thinking, and it's just because we're not used to 5 subs being available to us.
I think when the 3rd sub was made, there was quite a bit of activity on Twitter with people going off their head because Turnbull didn't get on, forgetting that you actually have 5 subs.
Oh Jesus! I wasn't that bad. It's one of them. I did remember.
I think there was comments of, oh, for fuck's sake, Brown's getting another 90 minutes. What's the point? So.
No, I mean it was a good game. It did start off a bit slow, but we did definitely get there. It was good to see, as you said, Soro does actually exist, and it's good to see him get an actual competitive game under his shoulders. And
the Ross County manager said that they dominated the game. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, he's talking rubbish for that. I mean, for one, he looks like David De Gea, but I tell you, he's got the fucking mindset of David De Gea. If he thinks that, I tell you, they're not dominated the game one bit. They had chances.
I just caught myself sniffing there, and I picked up on. I was saying to you before we started recording. I was recovering for the cold, man flu, whatever you want to call it. And last week, I kept turning away for the mic, but the mic is that sensitive, it kept picking up. So anybody that listened to me sniffling all the way through it, I really apologise for that. I hope it didn't put you off or make you turn off. So, aye, sorry, I just had to bring it up while I was doing it.
Yeah. I think it was one of those. It's a deflection to make it look better on him.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think they played well, and I think they were harshly beaten 5-0 because they did have chances. If it finished 5-2, then you could probably say that might have been a fairer reflection on the overall game. But the fact is, the Celtic have got better players and more clinical players and a good goalkeeper. So,
exactly, it's back to what we're saying. If they had clinical players, then it would have been a much closer game, and we would have been caught out with that if it wasn't a bottom 6 team to a top 6 team. Now Mr. Kettlewell thinks they're going to be a top 6. Well, they'll need to be more clinical if they're wanting to be top 6.
So that moves on to. So we've not really had much transfer activity apart from allegedly some bids going in for a left-sided midfielder stroke left back, wing back at Charlton. I'm not going to attempt his surname.
We've tried enough.
I tried before we started recording and I completely fucked it up, so I'm not even going to attempt it. But according to one of the Sky Sports guys tonight, they're saying that Charlton are saying he's not for sale. Mm-hmm. I think allegedly he's out of contract in January, maybe. I think, which is a weird time to be out of contract. I don't know if that's the absolute case, but apparently so.
It's a very rare thing to see actually nowadays, but there is something. Was Brown not out of contract in January at one point?
No, he only had 6 months to go, and there was a bid in for Australia, and obviously Lennon came in and they didn't take it. So but anyway, I certainly won't try and pronounce the boy's name. I'm not the best with certain names sometimes, so I think just that boy for Charlton will do for now, or Alfie, I think is his first name. So I think we could be doing with a left-sided player. Yeah, because we played Forrest on the left, and that we kind of predicted that last week that he might go with Forrest on the left if he's going to go 3-5-2. I just don't think it works.
I thought Forrest was ineffective, totally ineffective on Saturday. When you saw Frimpong, I thought Frimpong had a great game.
What I will say, just sorry to cut you off, before we go on to the next game, I think he was more effective than what Taylor was as a natural left-sided player.
There is the case for that, yeah. But I think we need to address that, and I don't think Forrest should be there. If we're going to have to play Forrest, then it might have to be on the other side. But then I think it was totally wrong to drop Frimpong, because I thought Frimpong had a great game.
Yeah,
I thought he was getting forward at times, and the same as the Motherwell game, getting forward, having a go, being fast, being pacey, getting to the byline, trying to cut in. And with last night, obviously, Frimpong was dropped, but Forrest and
rotated apparently.
Rotated. That's just.
Well, we'll move on to the St Mirren game, so we may as well move on to that. So we finished that game 5-0, quite convincing, played well, everybody's happy, 5 different goal scorers, and then we go to last night against a team who were clearly going to sit in. And I think the difference between County and St Mirren is County wanted to have a go, which left space to sort of get in behind. It was a more open game, whereas St Mirren, you knew they, just based on the way they play under Goodwin, they don't concede a hell of a lot of goals. They were definitely going to be set up much more defensive, and to make so many changes. I don't have a problem with making changes, but I think it was the types of changes they made. I think just set his back right away. What was your thoughts on the lineup?
Well, I thought it was, as I say, I don't think the right decisions were made. El Hamed looked very, very uncomfortable in the back three. He just didn't look the same as what he would be at a back four.
Yeah, he looks much better at right back in a 4 than he did last night.
He commands the position a lot better. I didn't think he looked at all comfortable. So Sham getting dropped was a bit harsh. Because I thought didn't have the best game, but I thought he at least deserves, as we were saying earlier, he deserved to try and become more consistent.
I don't think he's been. I think he's played pretty well. I think he had a poor first half against Ross County, but I think he's been played. Like we've said already, I think considering he's playing as a 10 rather than a deeper line midfielder, I think he's played pretty well. And I find him pretty creative. I just think it had to be either McGregor or Brown that should have dropped. Christie should have come back in at 10, and Cham drops in with McGregor or Brown, or maybe even Turnbull. I just think because it's the 10 in a row season, I just find Lennon too cautious. He's too, they're my tried and trusted, as we keep saying. And I think that's it's almost like a noose around the club's neck at the minute. And it's becoming frustrating as a fan to watch.
He does be loyal to players that maybe he needs to kind of be not as loyal to them. And it is getting a wee bit, as you say, maybe it is just, it's starting to affect what would have been if this was a normal season. I think you would have seen more rotation, or more certainly of the right decisions being made, because I know what we've said in this podcast before, whereby Brown hasn't been the greatest, but I think last night again, I don't think he was great.
Oh, I think he was pretty bang average last night, to be fair. I think he had a decent game against Ross County. I think people were going a wee bit over the top on how well he played. I think he was pretty effective in Saturday, but that's the first decent game he's had pretty much this season, or for a while, in my opinion. And I think last night there was a point where I think Christopher Ayer tried to pass to him, or he kind of lost it. The guy beat Brown in the tackle, and then he was beyond Brown. Brown was taking an absolute age to catch up, whereas Ayer and I think McGregor got back pretty quickly. And then when Brown eventually gets back, the guy absolutely skins him on the edge of the box and has a shot. Obviously, Barkas made a comfortable save, but I just find that's happening a lot. And the fact that Scott Brown has already got 5 bookings in 7 games, and he's only now 1 booking away from having an automatic suspension, which will take in the Rangers game apparently if he gets booked in the next 3 games. So to me, that tells its same story, that he's a wee bit slower, his reactions aren't great. And Neil Lennon, as much as he likes Brown and and he's a cult figure and and all that kind of stuff, he's in danger of turning people against Scott Brown because his performances are just not there. I think last night was absolutely perfect for Brown to come on off the bench with 15 minutes to go. The game's at 2-1. We want to try and see it out. I'd rather have Brown giving it everything he's got for 15 minutes rather than trying to pace himself through 90.
I mean, that'll now be 3 games in 7 days.
Yes.
Essentially. Now, Brown's 35 years old, isn't he?
Yep.
So
I couldn't do the same things at 35 that I could when I was 25 or even 30. I'm 42 now. I can't do the same things that I could do when I was 40. So fucking it catches up on you, man. So this isn't that people think I'm bashing Brown every week, and I'm not. I really am not. I understand the stature of the guy in the club and what he brings to the dressing room and all the leadership qualities. But we've got to pick his moments. There's going to be times where, we're winning away from home, we're really up against it, maybe a wee bit under the cosh. This is where you bring in Brown to try and strengthen it up, but you give him 15, 20 minutes where he's able to just absolutely go hell for leather. Right now, it feels like he's pacing himself through a game, and he's getting caught out, and younger and fitter guys are running past him.
Yeah,
it's becoming uncomfortable to watch, and I hate seeing it because the guy has been a great servant to the club.
But we've spoke about this previous times. Like there could be times whereby it could be like that 30 minutes and giving his all and just shoring it up for that period of time. But there's got to come a time whereby it's going to catch up with him. Now, he should not be playing 3 games in 7 days. A 35-year-old can't do that. well, he probably shouldn't be doing it. He is still just getting there. But I think that games like this are easier, to play maybe Sham and McGregor or Sham
Turnbull.
or Turnbull as well.
Even Christie, for a period a couple of years ago, played alongside McGregor with Rogic just ahead, and the three of them together were exceptional. That was our best period in that season. When they three played together, so it's not as if we've got options. This isn't an attempt by me to get Cham in the team. I like Cham. I think he's a great player. I think he does have some flaws. I think he is quite sloppy at times, and I don't think he's great at shooting. Although I retweeted a shot the night that the SPFL Twitter account put up, that goal against Partick for about 40 yards last season. So
that was a goal.
He's capable, but not all the time. I mean, I just don't want to see Brown's legacy tarnished if things go tits up this season, and he's been playing, he's had 30 games in a row starting, and he's only come off his sub maybe 2 or 3 times because he's going to run out of legs. There's just no doubt about it. And even McGregor shouldn't be playing 50 to 60 full games a season either. So on Saturday it was ideal that he brought off McGregor and gave the guy a rest. But we're kind of jumped ahead a wee bit there. So obviously the lineup had quite a number of changes. The one thing that has annoyed me a wee bit is Lennon's comments a couple of weeks back said about how Julian needs to get up. Now he takes a bit of time to get going and up to speed. Yet he rested him last night.
I know. I don't know why done it. I was just a bit baffled by that myself, but I thought it's still, with it being Elhamed, Duffy and Ayer, I still thought it would be a commanding back three, but unfortunately though, you still need to take into account that is the first time they've played together.
Yep.
So obviously it was a poor start. And lo and
behold, we're one down after 3 minutes.
It was a poor start, and it was a decent ball in, but you think we could have, that's a ball we should be clearing, or should be dealing with a bit more effectively.
The ball was low enough to, it's kind of one of the corners that Christie hits, or it hits the first guy. It's too low, it should have been cleared. It should have been dealt with a lot better. I think Christie's sleeping a wee bit at the back post. Keeper's not really got much chance because, the guy's tapping it in for 3 yards out and we're 1-0 down already. The only good thing about conceding a goal that early is you've got practically the full game to rectify it.
Mm-hmm. Which we did pretty quickly. And to be fair to Christie, it's a fantastic delivery in.
Yes.
Through Duffy, and it is what you're missing sometimes, just getting a good delivery and then you're having Duffy there to score. And great header. And I liked the way that Duffy was. He wasn't ready to go out and celebrate or anything. It was just like, let's get back, let's regroup, let's go again.
He said that in an interview the day on the Celtic press conference. He's just obviously talking about his first 2 games and obviously scoring last night. And he just said that it was just he said he was still annoyed at the goal that they conceded. Mm-hmm. And he just wanted to try and get the ball back and to get the game started and try and get into the lead. And then that was his kind of time to celebrate. And obviously he complimented Christie's free kick. And it was an absolutely brilliant free kick by Christie.
Mm-hmm. And obviously onto if you go on a wee bit, then it's another great delivery for Forrest.
Yes.
That's pinpoint. That's even more pinpoint than the first one because that's from play.
The one thing I was thinking, and I was just about to tweet about how ineffective and how poor Forrest had been even on the right hand side in that setup. I think he was completely anonymous. I don't think he beat a man. I don't think he put any crosses really into the box. And then obviously he comes up with a pretty impressive header. Now I tweeted. I like to just tweet something, a couple of words, just saying great goal or whatever, just to provoke kind of reaction and debate and whatever. And within seconds, there's a gent, and I think he started listening to the pod, to be fair to him. I think Thomas O'Malley, I think his name is. I'll give you a shout out right away. He's pulled me up on no complimenting Christie's 2 great assists. And I'm like, I never even said anything about Christie. I just, I said it was a great goal, you know. I'm going to compliment the goal, and he said, "Yeah, but without the cross, there's no goal." And I says, "Well, why would you cross it into the box if nobody's there?" So,
Some people though are just picking up on anything. Why can't they just
aye,
happy that it's a goal? And you've tweeted saying it's a great goal. So what's wrong with that? You know,
aye. Just to be fair, there's a bit of back and forth for me and him because I'm promoting Encham to play more, and but I'm not saying Christie shouldn't play. I just don't know if he's necessarily the best player for number 10. I think that crossing ability he has got, I think, would be better suited on the left hand side. I think he's got the energy to play up and down that left hand side because, let's be fair, Taylor, not once did he beat a man last night. Everything that he did went back or sideways. I think his output on creativity last night was practically zero. In fact, I didn't even know he was playing in the first half. He was so anonymous.
I thought he had a shocking performance, an absolutely shocking performance. I don't. He's definitely not suited to being the wing back in that 3-5-2. I don't think he is at all. I don't even think he's that good as part of the four, to be honest. Because
I think Taylor would be good at left back in a four when Celtic are up against a team that are, you know, more likely to press us back the way a team of equal or better. I don't think he enjoys the role of, because he's never had to be that attacking. He's always played in a side that are set up defensively, you know, two banks of four. You know, really, and I think he's struggling. If I'm honest, I just don't know if he's at the level that we need.
Well, last night, I mean, the amount of high balls that were going to him and they were getting absolutely nowhere near him, you know, because he's not going to challenge. I mean, he's not exactly the tallest man in the park. And I just felt there was just too many high passes to him instead of just going low. But any time it did go low, it was coming straight back. There was never a taking an opponent on. You know?
Apparently, Duffy attempted 6 long-range passes last night and only one of them came off. And he was actually asked about that the day in his press conference, and he did say that, you know, he'd like to improve on that. He's a bit ring rusty, and, you know, it's not really an excuse. So I think he acknowledged that, you know, that was a side of his game that he's going to have to improve on. I think that's a side of the game that Julian is actually pretty good at. You know, that sort of raking crossfield pass. You know, he'll probably hit, I don't know, 7 out of 10. You know, but you know,
it'll be a high rate that Julian would get, definitely. Yes. I do think Duffy does also need to work on his shooting after the shot that he had after the goal. I mean, that nearly hit Tigers the start. But it was, apart from that, and the two deliveries by Christie, I don't think there was much else that he really done.
Yeah, I think as an overall, I think Christie was probably one of the better players, if not, you know, one of the better players, especially in, you know, middle to front for the team, but without being spectacular. You know, he had 2 great deliveries, 2 assists, 2 goals. He's won the penalty kick, but he had quite a lot of crosses and free kicks in that second half that, you know, went just straight out of the park.
Yeah, I mean,
he was a complete opposite in the second half when it comes to deliveries as compared to what he was in the first half. And it was pretty frustrating, if I'm honest. That he dropped a level big time in the second half. But it was a pretty turgid performance overall. You know,
it was very puff and puff. It was very puff and puff.
I thought Edward was really poor last night. I'm not one of these people that say, "Oh, he looks uninterested" or whatever, but he just didn't look at. He was nowhere near his potential last night, and obviously the penalty. You know, he's tried to be that smart ass kind of again, but he's went the same side against that keeper that should have saved the penalty in the cup final a couple of years ago for Hearts. You know, he's put it almost to the exact same position, only this time the keeper's read it big time. Yeah. I think he was half expecting him to move one way or another, and because he didn't, I think he just decided to pick away without actually putting any power in it, and it kind of puts you on. I think if that goes in, I think you see Brown coming off. I think you maybe see an extra couple of substitutions, but because it doesn't go in, he keeps Brown on and doesn't make any changes. The
thing is, though, I mean, like, Edward did not look interested at all, though, and that penalty was a poor penalty. As much as that was Lamal, I thought had a good game for them. Was certainly some of the saves that he did pull off for them. But the thing is, though, I mean, why if we're all seeing this, then surely Lennon's seeing something that Brown isn't doing great, or isn't, surely he sees that he must have to rest him at points, even if it is a game where it is still 2-1. Surely bringing on fresh legs is going to be better.
I don't necessarily think Cham was the player to come on. I think probably Turnbull might have been the player to come on. But while it's at 2-1, it's almost as if he's unwilling to take any risks. And for me, I don't think that's a positive. I think that's a negative. I think that's quite weak mindset. That you're unwilling to change just because you're scared in case what might happen, rather than thinking let's go and make something happen. So it was a win. It wasn't a great performance, and you kind of take a bit of a kicking on Twitter if you complain after a win. And I get it, no every win is going to be, I think if we win last night 2-1 with a last minute winner, I think nobody really gives a shit. We put it down, shite performance, but we got there in the end. Exactly. I think because we've came back early to 2-1, and then the whole second half's pretty turgid, and we've not really created a hell of a lot of chances, and we've missed a penalty, and it just feels a bit meh.
I mean, apart from like that chance where the boy skinned Brown and then hit it over the bar, I mean, they didn't really threaten St Mirren. They really didn't. It was 10 men behind the ball, but as I said on Twitter, these games are all about getting the 3 points. A bit like the Dundee United game. You get the 3 points and you get out of there and you just go to the next game.
Yeah.
But it wasn't boring, but it was like, you felt as if, right, what's going to happen? It was a bit like the Boxing Day game that we played them last season. Okay, we won 2-0, but it wasn't the most effective of games, and it wasn't the most effective of performances.
Yeah. So it was another game that Mo Elyounoussi didn't start. So that sort of brings me on to a question from Christopher Gillespie at Christopher1G89, who follows me and I don't follow him. So I've just rectified that. Christopher, sorry about that.
That's our listener, I think.
No, I've just followed him back. So he's asked the question, do you think Moy should get a chance at number 10 behind Eddie and the Jetty?
Well, I would like to see it happen. I think it would certainly be better there than, as we spoke about, than in the wing back role.
Yeah, I don't think he suits that.
I think you would get a lot more out of Elyounoussi in the number 10 role, and I think you would get quite a lot more goals. I think
so as well.
He's
already admitted that he played 10 behind the Jetty at Basel at times. So, so people will turn around and say, well, where does that leave Christie? For me, that leaves Christie either probably more than likely over on the left.
Mm-hmm.
I think, because he's got that crossing ability from the left. He's got the energy to get up and down. He's definitely, that's the one thing he's definitely got, is the energy. But is he disciplined enough? But in saying that, he played right-hand side against Dundee United. When he's left-footed, he kept cutting in and shooting. I think rather than cutting in and shooting, I think crossing to a guy like Ayeti, and Edward in the box, I think would be more suitable, in my opinion. So I don't think Christie has to drop it for him. I think
no, but I think you'd have to. He's going to then brings it. You'd have to drop one of his favourites in Forest.
Well, that's the dilemma he's got, and he'll turn around after. I thought Forrest was extremely poor last night, but he scored the winner, and Lennon will likely just turn around and say, well, he scored the winner, what more do you want? And it's got to be more than that. It can't be just down to, you only do one. I know the one thing he done in the game was ultimately the best thing, for the game, but he's got to offer more than what he's offering at the minute. And I'm a Forrest fan. I'm not one of the Boo Boys. I think there was a period under Ronnie Dyler where I think Forrest could have left and nobody would have really cared. But definitely since Rodgers came in, and obviously Paddy Roberts gave him real genuine competition, I think Forrest definitely kicked on goals wise and the way he plays and takes people on. He's definitely a much better player over the last 2 or 3 years than he had been maybe for the previous 5 or 6.
Well, I was shocked at the start to actually find out he won a header, never mind anything else, and scored with a header. But as you say,
He
though,
controlled it well into that top corner.
it certainly was. I mean, great header. I mean, it's not one of Forrest's main things to do, but he did take it very well, controlled it and got the winner. Yes, but it can't just be that, because the whole game, he was lucky if he was getting past any of the St Mirren players.
Yeah.
And not getting to the byline, and it was just almost a bit like Taylor on the other side, just pass back, instead of direct go. Never. It should be, as you say, it should be more. But at the end of the day, though, the stat will show he got the goal, and we've now got the 3 points.
Yeah, but that's a couple of games in a row where he's not done a hell of a lot. So to answer your question, Christopher, I definitely think he should get a chance at number 10. I think they should maybe give him that chance this weekend against Livingston, I think, is who we're playing against. So I think that's a chance to make some positive sort of forward-thinking sort of rotation, if you want to call it, this weekend. And I think Moya Elyounoussi should be in that position. Because I think when he came on against Ross County, he came on as almost a kind of second striker, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got a question here for Darren Grant. I'll just get his Twitter handle. I actually follow this guy back, so he's getting put off for that. He's retweeted the Homeboys the night, I think. So what's that all about? In fact, they're live, so I can get away with that.
Us then, Dan.
Aye, well, we're pre-recorded, so we'll not go out until they're probably done. Anyway, question for Darren Grant. His Twitter handle is at DJ Darren Grant. Is he actually a DJ? Question: should we be going for an experienced left wing back / left back in this window, or a young prospect? And then he's asked, following on from that question, is Frimpong worth trying at those positions? A better option to have El Hamid on the right wing back, right back, something we could look at. To answer the second question, I think when you start moving players about into what's not a natural position for them, I think Frimpong has to stay in the right. I think it's a straight fight between Frimpong and Forrest. Mm-hmm. I don't think there should be the, chopping and changing and getting people playing on the wrong side, that they're more comfortable on. I think the only one that's kind of getting away with that just now is Ayer, who is playing on the left of a 3, but he's more right-footed. I think just by the way he plays, bringing the ball out, because he's right-footed, he's able to bring it more in field rather than taking it outside. So where he's basically just bust through the midfield. So I don't think Frimpong at left wing-back is an ideal situation. No, definitely not.
Not at all. No, I think Frimpong would be heavily wasted at the left. Because I just don't think it suits him. It suits him to be on the right-hand side where he's comfortable on the right foot and turn in.
He does a lot of 1-2s once he gets to the box, and then he gets to the byline a lot, And obviously with that last night, I think it was a bit of a 1-2, and he bust past that guy, and the guy's absolutely scythed him down. Mm-hmm. I wonder if they had 3 days of debate on that tackle on the Sports Sound. But to answer that question, Darren, I definitely don't think Frimpong on that position is ideal. I think worst case scenario, maybe. I don't think El Hamid would be suited at a right wing back position. I think he's definitely a good backup for the one of the 3 centre halves, obviously preferably on the right hand side, although he does look as if he needs a bit of work in that position. So if we're going to go with 3 at the back, I think that's his best chance of playing is right centre back, right of the 3 centre back rather than a wing back. Mm-hmm. But to go back to his first question, should we be going for experienced in this window or a young prospect? I think Frimpong is a prospect, but he's good enough to start. And I don't think it matters on prospect or experience. I just think it's somebody that has to be good enough to step in right away. Somebody better than Taylor. And
in that position,
Yeah.
And it can actually, put a cross in or, do whatever we need them to actually do. Because I just think Taylor is just not going to be anywhere near good enough at all.
We need to find a left-sided Timothy Castagna. That's what we need. Now, that's not going to be easy because those guys will cost a lot of money, but that's somebody who is capable. Now, obviously, we're going for this boy Charlton. Whether we get him and whether Charlton are playing hardball, I don't know. I don't know anything about the boy, even comment. I don't watch Championship or League One English football. I find the standard pretty turgid, to be honest. I don't know. I don't know if he's any good. I don't know but so far Nick Hammond's scouting has, he's come up with some good signings so far. So all I could say is trust his judgment, I suppose.
Well, we'll just need to wait and see. I mean, there's still plenty of time left in this window, but I do think it's something that we do need to address if we want to seriously, to seriously keep our momentum going and play correct, good football and good matches.
Yeah. So I've got a bit of a rant here, and it's no my rant. This came in last night for Gaz 1888. I'm positive he's no 132-year-old, but his Twitter handle is @GazClark28. So if you want to, hold on, he's got it here in his bio. Wrong, where you come from, it just says wrong side of handsome.
Jesus God.
Some
like
self-deprecation. What's the word? Oh, I'm even going to attempt it. That's it. So he had a bit of a rant last night. He's wrote, "Mate, it's fucking hard to take 1-5-0 at Dingwall. Instead of looking for consistency, we changed the team for some mad reason. Fair play to Lenny on Sunday. Got us ahead and made 5 subs. Well, I think it was Saturday the game, wasn't it? Round about the 60-minute mark, and all subs contributed. Fair enough. So fair enough. Tonight was polar opposite. Game was crying out for Frimpong, Turnbull. Feels as if we're watching a different game from the coaching staff sometimes. Well, obviously, we've kind of covered that sometimes you wonder what these guys see. You get people out there and say, you're not a football coach, but I know a shite performance when I see one. I've watched enough football over the years.
No daft. We're no daft.
Yeah.
We're maybe not as analytical as some others, but we know a shite one.
I've got a question on that. I've got a question on analytics, so I'll get to that in a minute. So I responded to him, just for a couple of lines, and then he came back with another rant. So it's too good to ignore. So I'm going to go through it. So he wrote, "The irony is Lennon is blinded so much by Forrest and Brown. Literally everyone else can see it. I'm genuinely worried about things just now, mate, and I'm not usually that guy. I've got a sales background," so he's actually moving into what he works as. "I've got a sales background, and we were always taught consistency is the key, and that's the one thing that I think." I've lost my trail here. That's the one thing that I think is massively letting us down just now. Just struggling to understand why we're so far down the road with Lennon, but he still doesn't seem to know his best 11. Is he that ignorant he refuses to play his best players to suit favourites? Am I the only one to see these the concerns? You've got the bigger platform, and I just wrote, tune in to find out.
I do think he makes a very good point there. With certainly the, I think he will sacrifice best 11 for favouritism. I do think so. Because
if you were going to buy, if you had let's just say £20 million to spend, right, and you were wanting a sort of creative player who can score a lot of goals from the sort of midfield area across the sort of the three behind the guy up top, how much are you spending on El Yunusi and versus how much you're spending on Christie?
Well, I mean, El Yunusi, I think your half your budget's gone already, if not more, I would say.
And Christie, if you were to buy, Christie, if you were to buy Christie just now, based on this form, playing in the league that he's in, versus buying El Yunusi based on what he's done before, you're paying double for El Yunusi.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're paying double for El Yunusi. I mean, because I would say that Christie would be in the moment, I think, the £2 to £3 million mark.
Yeah.
That at the very, very most, I think, that was getting a good deal, because I just don't think he's been too great. Okay, the 2 assists last night were good, but Eleanor should be half your budget would be taken up by that easily.
Aye. I just think, aye, it's it kind of feels like Christie kind of gets a pass a lot of the times, But I mean, he had a better game than most last night, that's for sure. So he's justified in his performance. I just fear that we've got a guy with that much quality sitting on the bench and he's not getting utilised. And if he's going to get utilised, he's probably not going to get utilised in his best position. I just think we've got, we want to, it's almost as if we want to play 3-5-2, but it's at the detriment of several other players, So it's trying to find that balance, I suppose. So Are you worried? Are you worried about this season so far, based on that question or rant that Gaz had?
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't. There is times where I'm approaching a game going, let's just see how it goes, whereby it really should be against teams like St Mirren and Ross County and Livingston. We should be confident, but I'm not feeling it. And I don't know whether that's maybe just because obviously what's going on and everything that's at stake, and it's just more that we really want to do well, so that could be playing a factor. But yeah, I am worried.
I wouldn't say I'm worried. I would say I've got a slight concern, and I think the concern comes with Lennon's stubbornness. I feel as if he's doubling down a wee bit on his selections and who he sees as his first choice picks. I think the team has definitely got a mistake in them at the back, and that counts for Duffy as well. He misjudged that one that came in and it hit his arm. Obviously Barkas saved it on the line. Obviously the St Mirren manager's crying about penalty kicks. Is it a penalty? It's one of the ones, if it's against you, you're thinking, that's a clear penalty, or guys at the back post ready to knock it in. But if it's sort of in your favour, you're thinking, well, his arms were by his side and he didn't know anything about it, kind of thing. So it's one of the ones, if the referee sees it, it could go either way.
Exactly. That's the easiest way to describe that. It could go either way, and let's just say we're glad that it didn't, because glad it didn't go our way. Sorry.
Definitely. I think Duffy at the minute, getting up to speed, does look as if he's got a mistake in him, but I'm more confident with him in the defence than not. I think he will bring a lot of leadership. You could see it. He was actually leading even Brown. I think he was telling to get into a certain position last night as well, and when Brown picked up the ball in midfield and stuff. So he's definitely got the leadership qualities about him. It seems as if he's like a talker and a no nonsense. I think somebody called him Ronseal. He does exactly what it says on the tin. Big Ronseal.
Big Ronseal.
I might actually call the podcast that the night.
Ronseal does what it's. I really like the look of Duffy from what I've seen so far. Yes, there might be a mistake in him, but he is showing leadership qualities, which I'm really liking so far. And as you say, he is a talker, and he does like to do a lot of the talking on the pitch.
Brings a goal for it as well. I think he's going to be a really good and important signing for us. I've not get involved in the whole fanfare thing, that Celtic fan for Derry, Republic Island captain, that whole Celtic connection thing. I don't get too, too involved in all that kind of stuff, because at the end of the day, is the guy any good at kicking footballs? That's all that matters to me, And so far, it looks as if he should be he's definitely a step up on Simunovic, that's for sure. So for me, that's a massive improvement for the defence. So, but I only really get excited about forward players. I don't get too enamoured about defenders, to be honest, or goalkeepers.
I think everybody's the same, isn't it? Because obviously they carry the goal threat more. But I mean, if you look at it, he's certainly up there with the forwards already. I mean, 2 goals in 2 games.
Have you seen my prediction for the season?
I don't know if I have. No, not yet.
Right, I've made a prediction that Julian and Duffy will score more than Itten and Roof.
That potentially could happen. If Duffy continues on his same form, then yes, they will. They will do that. Julian, I don't know if he'll score as many. I don't know. Like, I
Because
think
he'll get bullied at the way.
yeah, because Duffy will just want every goal and push him out, and Julian will cry for a penalty every 2 minutes. But that's not a bad prediction, I would say. I will keep an eye on that to see how it goes. But
so what is it, 3 so far this season between the two of them? Julian against Motherwell and then
yes.
Duffy's 2. So
Yeah.
I think that's 3 for the season, and I think Itten and Roof have got 2 between them so far. I could be wrong on that, but
Put it this way: they haven't set the Heather on fire with the way that certain journalists were putting them on a pedestal, shall we say?
I don't know. Roof's that good. They gave him a different name the other week. I'm not going to say too much about them because the game against them's coming up in a few weeks, so I don't want to jinx it.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's just going to be a very weird atmosphere watching that with no fans there. It's going to be very weird.
I'm just trying to. I think there was definitely another question. Right, Timothy Leary, not O'Leary, just Timothy Leary at Shark067. He says, your views on statistical analysis data and how it's becoming more fashionable. Now, I get the feeling that this has been aimed at Juco James.
That was literally on the tip of my tongue because I read his thread about the game last night.
Yeah. What I'll say, I speak to Juco James kind of privately. I think what he's doing is what has already been done in clubs. I think clubs, especially your Atalantas and I think Getafe have kind of went big on data and all that type of stuff. And these clubs are punching way above their weight, so to speak. Mm-hmm. I think this is something that's pretty alien to the fan. The general sort of sit on the couch, watch it, shout at the telly kind of thing. And I think all this XG stuff, and I think that's pretty alien, and it just looks like jargon nonsense. But this is stuff that actually clubs are using. I've also heard other podcasts basically say you can't use data and stats like that in football because it's free flowing and moving. But I don't agree with that at all. I think the clubs who cover every basis, there you've got Liverpool. I think they've got a throw-in coach. Just every minor detail is looked at, and there's a reason why these clubs are starting to get really successful. Is because, Liverpool obviously, they're massive into their data analysis and statistics and all that sort of stuff. But that all comes from the Fenway Group, who own the Boston Red Sox. And if you've ever watched the movie Moneyball, you'll know where that comes from. They try to get Billy Beane, who sort of created the Moneyball kind of thing, across to the Red Sox. So they've obviously brought that to Liverpool. But how often do Liverpool sign a player now that fails?
Not many.
Very few. Absolutely very few.
I watched their documentary last week, the 30 Years in the Making. It's on BBC, and I would recommend, if anybody's looking for a good football documentary, that's one to watch.
Yeah. But for me, I think it's something that if you're into it, read it, take it on board for what it is, and make your own mind up. I think don't because somebody's hitting it with XGs and all the statistics and stuff. I think it's very interesting reading. And I think it makes me think about the game slightly in a maybe slightly different way. And I try and look for these things when I'm actually watching football. I try and enjoy the game and just get engrossed in the game, but I also try and sort of take a step back every now and again and kind of watch the game, what's going on. Certain games like Lazio away or Rangers at home or away, my head's fucking up my arse, to be honest. All I care about is the result. I don't really give a fuck how we play and who runs how many sprints and stuff like that.
I think it is fascinating how much you can go into it. I think to say that you cannot take it into account because it's free flowing is absolute rubbish. Okay, the stats are there, and it's been proven that it is working.
Yeah.
Because Liverpool say that why can't we have someone for everywhere? You know, as you say, a throw-in coach and etc. etc. And data and analytics seem to be the in thing now. It's why you're seeing other managers that are not as analytical or as big into the data. They're not succeeding as much as they were.
No.
So I do think that this will become the norm eventually. So to say that you can't do this, well, no. Why don't?
I think coaches are getting younger as well.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the guy who left Salzburg, Marco Rose, and went to Gladbach. You look at the boy at Leipzig. I think he's only 33. You know, these young guys. I mean, it could be classed as a kind of laptop generation almost.
Mm-hmm.
Which
there's nothing wrong with. You know, like there's nothing wrong with a changing of the guard, I think, and it's always good to have a change of generation, as it were.
But,
you know,
do you know what? But there is sometimes just sheer genius comes into it in football, where somebody can just ping one for 35 yards, and they could be having the worst game, but it turns out to be the winner. So there is that anomalies within there. I think the stats just paint a picture over a period of time. And if you've got, for instance, a defensive midfielder who is winning 40% of their duels in midfield, whereas 2 years ago he was maybe winning 75% of that, that tells a story. That tells you that, something's not right. It's either the formation, the player's not as quick, his reaction times are slower. I think it tells you a story. I think it's something that has to be looked over a period of time rather than game to game, so to speak. I think it can paint a picture, but doesn't necessarily always give you the true reflection of the final result, so to speak.
I think Duco James is very good at collecting information and certainly putting it out there, and I think people are certainly getting on his back, shall we say, with regards to you're only doing that just to slate Brown. Well, no, you're just painting a different picture for people who want to see it in a different light, and it still shows that maybe he still isn't just having the best of times at the moment.
I think I've seen some derogatory comments, and I've also heard some derogatory comments made towards him on other podcasts, which I won't mention. But I find that pretty poor. It's just a different way of looking at the game. The guy's no making it up. He's no, and if this is, I think he's involved in data analytics in his job. I'm not going to go into what he does. So it's not as if he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, and he's just found some mathematical equation that he does on his laptop. It's true data, and he obviously puts it out there, and he tries to word it in a way that people understand. And see if it's not your thing, then fine. You don't. But I find the personal attacks and the personal abuse. I've had it in the past when I've had opinions on. I remember saying after the Malmo game that Ronnie Dyler was done. And he was a dead man walking, and he won't last another season. And ultimately, it was proven right because I could just see it that the guy didn't have it. But I took a shitload of abuse when I was doing my podcast at the time for that. And eventually, people came back to me and said, "Do you know what? I was a bit annoyed at the time, and and you were actually, in the end, you were right." I wasn't saying it. I don't say these things. Ultimately, I'm a Celtic fan. I want Celtic to win every game. I want every player to be a 10 out of 10 every week. And I don't really care who plays as long as that is. But if there's players better suited, and if there's players off form, then change it. Don't be stubborn. Don't stick to it because it's your favourite. And that's where I kind of went on a tangent there. But
no.
Have opinions. You can have an opinion, but what we say in this podcast isn't. We're just expressing an opinion. We're just saying what we feel or whatever, how we see the game. That's not necessarily the right thing or the wrong thing. I just find when people start condemning the personal abuse and some, I just find it a bit poor taste, to be honest.
Well, yeah, but I think it's just because obviously it's not they see it as attacking a player, so they think, well, I have to go down this guy's throat, and it shouldn't be that way. It's just showing it in a different light. That's all it is. And
I was going to say, you get it as well with guys like Paul the Tim who go to every game, no matter where it is, home, away, and people have a go at him, and you're like, why is it anybody's? Why do you care?
Uh,
It's
just jealousy emanating out of them, And
I just find that whole thing. I mean, I've had a season ticket most of my adult life. Unfortunately, at the minute, I don't have a season ticket just because I moved house and financially I had to make decisions and something had to go. And unfortunately, the season ticket, the 3 season tickets that I had to go. It's just, it doesn't make me any less a Celtic fan. Now I'm able to watch the games on TV and be able to sort of take notes and sort of analyse the game, which now allows me to do the podcast again. So, so I just find, if it's not your thing, then it's not your thing. Don't Disney. I don't get the abuse side of it. That's all. That's my opinion on that.
Well, it's never going to change. There's always going to be certain individuals that will have certain ways of saying stuff, and we could be here all day with certain individuals saying things the way they do. But I personally think the way that Draco James has been putting it through, I think it is very interesting because I don't know much of it myself. I can't confess to have ever been, like in the know with regards to it, but I do find it very interesting when someone paints you a picture of a game that maybe you don't see it that way. And I'm certainly of the opinion where I'm a fan where as a bit like yourself, I just want to see the team win, and as long as the team win. But seeing it as the way that he puts it across I find it very interesting, and I would like to look more into it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, last night's result was, all important. The performance wasn't great. So if we're like us two, we're doing a podcast. There's no point in just coming on and going, the game was shite, but we won. That doesn't make for a show. It doesn't make for something that people want to tune in and listen to. So we've got to sort of break down the game and just try and call it as you see it. Don't we're all fans. We all want the team to do well, but try and put that objective hat on and look at things objectively and just call it for what it is, and I try and call it down the middle, as best I can. Ryan Christie isn't one of my favourite players, but for me he was probably the best player in the park for us last night, although I didn't think anyone was that great, to be honest. So I just think it was a poor team performance all round, but out of a poor team performance, I thought Christie was the standout because he created created 2 goals, created a third that should have been a goal from the penalty, and then had a shot himself where the keeper made a cracking save. So he could have resulted in contributed towards 4 goals last night. So you've got to recognise that. So it's a game of opinions. We've got our opinion, but I like to. It helps. Do you know what? Doing this actually I find this is good for mental health and stuff like that. I love to talk about football, and I've had my own personal demons in the past and stuff, and this is an outlet for me, and it's good to just talk about something I enjoy so much and love, and that's Celtic and watching football. So
I would absolutely second that to anything that this does. This is certainly a very good remedy for any mental health. It really does help and improve it and maintain it, as it were.
That's why I get involved. I listen to phone-ins and I watch the game, and I want to. Not that my opinion, it matters to a lot of people. I like to think that I'm good enough to sort of sit in front of a mic and be articulate and just get my views out there. And I feel like when I get it out there, it's like I've said my piece. Whether it's right or whether it's wrong, whether you think I'm talking shit, or whether you think I'm talking sense, it doesn't really matter. I do this because I like it as a hobby. I find it's a release for me, if nothing else, and that's why I like doing it. So I have kind of went down a totally different road there, but I just find that people need to people go on social media and talk about mental health and support mental health, and then and they're giving people absolute dog's abuse because they're coming up with something you've never really seen before, and it doesn't sit with the way you think necessarily. It's only football. I mean, it's just football players come and go. As long as the strip will never change. That's all that matters. These guys are only there temporarily. Players will come and go.
The front will always be more important than the name in the back. So
yeah, exactly, and that's the way I've seen it for years. I've seen too many. I've said before, I've seen all my heroes come and go, and I just thought, you know what, I'm not having any more heroes. I'll have players that I enjoy watching, but knowing that they will leave, you know, and they'll be replaced by somebody else, and hopefully they do as good, if not a better job than the guy wearing the shirt before. So that's the way I see it. So, but we had a question, but I'm going to leave this for next week because I think this is something that needs a bit of time to think about. Right, so this is some homework for next week for me, you, and anyone who wants to get involved. So hopefully,
this is the whole car league.
This is pretty good. So I'm not going to give you his team, so I'll leave it to next week. But so if anybody puts together a team, send it to me, and we'll maybe go through some of them. But I'll do my best to sort of put the question out there in the way that we both understand. So he's wrote, "Hi Stephen. When you were on the Ball Boys, I asked you to build a starting 11 from the past 11 seasons. Could you build a team of players, one from each season, on the road to 10? So you can pick a goalkeeper from the run to 10 and then 10 players from the 10 said seasons, taking form from that season into account. So if you like, you could say... for instance, I don't know, Kieran Tierney's best season for Celtic was the 16-17 season. So that's your player for that year, so to speak, you know. And
then that's the left back taken care of.
So that's the left back position taken care of, but also that's that season taken care of, so you can't pick anybody.
Okay.
So if you want to pick, I don't know, Dembele, then, you know, was he the best player in the season after, kind of thing, you know, that kind of thing. So he says you can pick a goalkeeper, and then you're allowed to pick a goalkeeper from those 10 seasons. So that obviously includes this season. So we've not got much to go on so far this year. No. So there's not been that many great players so far this season. But you could probably say, well, Shane Duffy's come in and hit the ground running, so you could pick him for this season so far, you know. So, and that would be your team. So we'll leave it at that. We don't want to mention too many names. So do you understand the question?
I do, yeah. I do. All I'm saying is I'm glad I'm off work next week as well, because I'll be...
Aye. So you're allowed 2 players from one season, but one of those players has to be a goalkeeper.
Right, so you're allowed 2 players from one season, and one has to be a goalkeeper.
Aye, and then you've got to fill out the rest. So you need somebody for the first season on road to the 10, and then a one player from each of the seasons. I've already got an idea of who. What I'll do is I'll screenshot it to you, and and then anybody who wants to get involved, if you're not 100% picking up that, I'll just message me and I'll confirm it to you.
Right.
So all right. So we're now in the 10th. I'm going to get this right. We're now in the 10th season, so you've got to pick one player from each season to make an 11.
Right.
But you're allowed 2 for one season, but one of them has to be a goalkeeper.
Right. And then I take it, are we even going into managers, or is that just being left out?
No, you pick a manager from that, you know. I think there's an obvious choice whether you want to pick him or not. That's up to you. But
well, I think we'll need to, but anyway.
I'll leave that way, and at that we're at 1 hour 22 recording plus the intro and outro, so that will take us to about 1 hour 25. So I think that's plenty for this week. I think hopefully by the time we're on next week, we've maybe got a couple of signings in, and we're top of the league because Rangers have dropped points and we've won at the weekend. So
we can but hope.
Yes, we can but hope. So Kevin, once again, thanks for joining me, and hail hail, and I'll catch you again next week.
See you soon, Stephen.
And they gave us James McRory and Paul McStay. They gave us Johnston, Tully, Murdoch, Gold and Hay. And most of the football greats have passed through Parkhead's gates. But to play football, the Glasgow Celtic